Greetings, fellow seekers of knowledge. I'm J.A., and today we're voyaging back in time, not to distant galaxies, but to an era of fearsome warriors, intrepid explorers, and a culture far more complex than pop culture often portrays. We're talking about the Vikings. When you picture them, what comes to mind? Probably fierce, bearded men, horned helmets, and a whole lot of pillaging, right? Well, some of that holds a measure of truth, but much of it is shrouded in myth, or worse, outright fabrication. Our journey today is to peel back those layers of misconception and stare into the often surprising, sometimes unsettling face of the historical Norse people. Did you know the Viking never wore horned helmets? That's a myth, created by opera, not history. Specifically, it was costume designer Carl Emil Doepler's work for Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen cycle in the 1870s that cemented this image in the popular imagination. Actual Viking helmets, the few that have been found, are simple, practical affairs, usually domed metal or leather caps, sometimes with a spectacle guard for the eyes and nose. No horns. Think about it, horns would be incredibly impractical in close combat, easily grabbed or deflecting a friendly axe. So let's toss that image overboard right now as we prepare to uncover some truly chilling and fascinating truths. Our quest is to unearth 10 facts about the Vikings that might just reshape your understanding of these legendary figures. We'll delve into their incredible ingenuity, their surprising societal norms, their profound spiritual beliefs, and the sheer audacity of their ventures across the unforgiving seas. These aren't just historical tidbits, they're windows into the human spirit, its capacity for brilliance, brutality, and the relentless drive to explore the unknown. So, buckle up your metaphorical and horn-free helmets, because the waters of history are about to get choppy and very, very interesting. When we think of Viking dominance, we must first bow to their unparalleled genius in shipbuilding. Their longships weren't just boats, they were technological marvels of their age, a fusion of art and engineering. Picture this, a sleek, clinker-built hull, shallow of draft, yet incredibly strong and flexible. This design allowed them to achieve astounding feats. They could navigate the treacherous open ocean with a stability that defied their slender appearance. And then, with that same vessel, they could silently glide up shallow rivers, appearing as if from nowhere. Imagine the psychological impact of that. A dragon-headed prow emerging from the morning mist deep inland where no large ship should be. It was this mastery of naval architecture that literally powered their expansion, their trade, and yes, their terrifying raids. These vessels were the space shuttles of their time, pushing the boundaries of the known world. The combination of sail and oar power gave them incredible versatility. They could harness the wind for long voyages across the vast North Atlantic. Or when the winds died or stealth was paramount, 100-strong warriors could pick up their oars. This allowed for swift surprise attacks, making coastal settlements and even inland towns vulnerable. The longship wasn't just a means of transport, it was a weapon, a home, a symbol of their identity. It embodied their spirit, adventurous, adaptable, and utterly formidable. The very scent of salt and tar on the wind must have heralded both opportunity and dread, depending on which shore you stood upon. They didn't just sail the seas, they owned them, and the rivers became their highways into the heart of continents. Long before Christopher Columbus set sail and discovered the New World, a world, of course, already inhabited, another European had made that incredible transatlantic journey. I'm talking about Leif Erikson, son of the famously hot-tempered Eric the Red. Around the year 1000 AD, a full 5 centuries before Columbus's caravels, Leif and his Norse crew landed on the shores of North America. Think about the sheer audacity of that voyage, venturing into the vast, uncharted Atlantic in their open longships. They weren't guided by GPS or detailed maps, but by sagas, stories, keen observation of currents, birds, and the stars. He named this new land Vinland, meaning wineland, supposedly due to the wild grapes found there. This wasn't a myth. Archaeological evidence at L'Anse aux Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada, confirms a Norse presence. The establishment of a settlement in Vinland, however brief, is a testament to their exploratory zeal. But why didn't it last? Why didn't the Vikings colonize North America in the way Europeans did centuries later? The sagas speak of conflicts with the indigenous peoples, whom the Norse called Skraelings. Perhaps the distances were too great, the supply lines too tenuous for their relatively small population back in Greenland and Iceland. Imagine the what-ifs of history. What if the Viking settlements had thrived? How would the tapestry of North American history, and indeed world history, be different? Leif Erikson's journey remains a powerful reminder that exploration is a fundamental human impulse, and that the story of discovery is far more global and ancient than we often acknowledge. It's a chilling thought that such a monumental achievement could fade so far from common knowledge for so long. Now, let's address a rather fragrant misconception, the idea of the smelly, unkempt Viking barbarian. The reality, as unearthed by archaeology and contemporary accounts, is quite the opposite. Vikings, it turns out, were rather fond of their personal hygiene, especially when compared to other Europeans of the time. Evidence suggests they bathed at least once a week on Saturdays, a day known in Old Norse as laugardaga, meaning washing day. This practice was so ingrained that the word for Saturday in modern Scandinavian languages still reflects this. They used combs, tweezers, and even ear spoons, often beautifully crafted from bone or antler. These weren't just utilitarian objects, they were personal adornments, signs of status. So, far from being grimy savages, many Vikings took considerable pride in their appearance. This dedication to cleanliness wasn't just about comfort, it was a social statement, perhaps even a flex, as we might say today. Imagine a Viking warrior fresh from his weekly bath, hair and beard neatly combed, striding into a less fastidious Anglo-Saxon village. It might have been another subtle form of intimidation, or at least a way to distinguish themselves. Some historical accounts from England even complain about the Vikings' cleanliness, suggesting it made them too attractive to local women. This attention to grooming challenges our ingrained stereotypes and paints a picture of a people who valued order and presentation. It's a fascinating detail that reminds us how easily portrayals can be skewed, and how a simple bone comb can tell a more accurate story than 1,000 horned helmets. The scent of wood smoke and soap might have been as characteristic of a Viking settlement as the clang of the smith's hammer. Chapter 4. Runes more than just an alphabet. When we speak of Viking writing, we enter the mystical world of runes. These weren't merely letters in an alphabet the elder Futhark or younger Futhark used for mundane messages or trade. While they certainly served that practical purpose, inscribed on runestones to commemorate the dead or mark territory, each runic symbol was believed to pulse with inherent power, a deeper, magical significance. The very word rune can mean secret or mystery. To the Norse, these angular characters were not human inventions but gifts from the gods, specifically Odin, who hung himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 nights to gain their wisdom. This divine origin story imbued the runes with an aura of the sacred and the potent. Learning to read and carve runes was to tap into this ancient power. This belief transformed writing from a simple act of communication into a ritualistic practice. Runes were carved onto amulets for protection in battle, onto ships for safe passage, onto tools for skilled craftsmanship, and even, some believed, into curses to bring misfortune upon enemies. A skilled rune master, or erilaz, was a figure of respect and perhaps a little fear. They weren't just scribes, they were conduits of an ancient force capable of shaping reality through these potent symbols. Imagine the chilling feeling of finding a runic inscription, knowing it might be a blessing, a curse, or a message from the gods themselves. The power of symbols is a universal human experience, but for the Vikings, runes were a direct line to the very fabric of the cosmos, a tangible link to the magic they believed permeated their world. Chapter 5. The Unchained Fury Berserkers in Battle. Now we delve into one of the most terrifying and iconic figures of the Viking Age, the Berserker. These weren't just skilled warriors, they were something else, something primal. The sagas describe them as fighters who would enter a trance-like state of uncontrollable rage, known as berserkergang. They would howl like wild animals, bite their shields, and charge into battle seemingly impervious to pain or fear. Some accounts even suggest they fought shirtless, clad only in animal skins. The serk in berserker might refer to shirt or bearskin. Imagine facing such a foe, not a disciplined soldier, but a whirlwind of destructive fury, an avatar of war itself. Their ferocity was legendary, capable of turning the tide of a battle through sheer psychological terror as much as physical prowess. What could induce such a state? The theories are many, and the truth remains elusive. Was it a ritualistic practice, a shamanistic trance induced through dance and drumming? Or perhaps the ingestion of psychoactive substances like certain mushrooms or potent brews? Some scholars suggest it could have been a form of self-induced hysteria or even a specific psychological condition. Regardless of the cause, the effect was undeniably chilling. These warriors were the shock troops, the Viking special forces, whose reputation alone could unnerve an enemy. To fight a berserker was to fight someone who had seemingly cast off the shackles of human restraint, embracing a raw, animalistic power. The idea of a warrior so consumed by battle lust that they become almost inhuman is a deeply unsettling one, a stark reminder of the brutal realities of Viking warfare and the extremes of the human psyche under pressure. Chapter 6: Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree holding all reality. The Vikings possessed a cosmology as vast and awe-inspiring as the northern skies under which they lived. At the very center of their universe stood Yggdrasil, an immense ash tree, the World Tree. This wasn't just a tree, it was the Axis Mundi, the cosmic pillar connecting all of existence. Its branches stretched up to the heavens, sheltering Asgard, the realm of the gods. Its trunk passed through Midgard, our world, the realm of humans, and its roots delved deep into the underworld, into realms like Niflheim, the land of ice and mist, and Hell, the abode of the dead. Imagine a single colossal organism binding together gods, giants, humans, elves and dwarves. It was a universe teeming with life, interconnected at every level, with Yggdrasil as its vibrant living heart. This belief in Yggdrasil profoundly shaped the Viking worldview. It provided a framework for understanding their place in the cosmos, the forces that governed their lives and the nature of fate. Creatures lived within its boughs and roots. An eagle at its top, a dragon gnawing its roots, squirrels carrying messages. The Norns, a trio of fate goddesses, watered its roots from the well of Urd, weaving the destinies of all beings. This concept of an interconnected universe, where actions in one realm could ripple through others, is quite profound. It suggests a deep ecological and spiritual understanding, a sense of being part of a much larger living system. The thought that this mighty tree was constantly under threat, yet always enduring, perhaps mirrored their own often harsh existence. Yggdrasil wasn't just mythology, it was the scaffolding of their reality, a chillingly beautiful and complex vision of the cosmos. Chapter 7: Shield Maidens and Landowners, the surprising agency of Viking women. Let's shatter another stereotype, the passive, subservient woman waiting at home while the men went raiding. Viking society, while certainly patriarchal by modern standards, afforded women a surprising degree of agency and rights, especially when compared to many other contemporary European cultures. Viking women could inherit and own property independently of their husbands. They had the right to initiate divorce if they were mistreated or if their marriage was unhappy. They were the keepers of the household keys, symbolizing their authority over the domestic sphere, which was the economic hub. This wasn't a world where women were merely chattel. They were integral, respected members of society with defined legal standing. Archaeological finds of women buried with keys and sometimes even weapons hint at their status and varied roles. And what about the legendary shield maidens, the female warriors fighting alongside men? While the historical evidence for widespread shield maidens is debated among scholars, the sagas and some archaeological finds, like the Berserk warrior grave, suggest that women could, and perhaps sometimes did, take up arms. Beyond the battlefield, women were poets, rune masters, priestesses, and powerful matriarchs who managed large farmsteads. They were the custodians of family honor and tradition, the ones who passed down the epic sagas and oral histories. The strength and resilience expected of Viking men were often mirrored in their women. To think of these women merely as background figures is to miss a vital part of the Viking story. Their influence, their power, and their spirit were woven into the very fabric of this fierce and dynamic culture, a chillingly strong presence. Chapter 8. What's in a name? The true meaning of Viking. We've used the term Viking throughout our journey, but what does this word actually mean? It's not, as many assume, an ethnic designation for all Scandinavian people of that era. The word Viking itself is a bit of a linguistic puzzle, but one prevailing theory is that it derives from the Old Norse word Viking, which essentially meant an expedition, a journey overseas, often for raiding or trading. A Vikinger, the masculine singular noun, was someone who went on such an expedition, so Viking was more of a job description, an activity, rather than a blanket term for a nationality. Not every Norseman was a Viking, and not every Viking was necessarily Norse, though the vast majority were. This changes how we perceive them, doesn't it? It emphasizes action, a choice to venture forth. The sea was their highway, their frontier, their proving ground. To go Viking, fara I Viking, was to embark on a perilous but potentially rewarding adventure. This could mean peaceful trade, exploration into unknown waters, or yes, the brutal raids for which they became infamous. The word itself carries the salt spray of the North Atlantic, the thrill of discovery and the chilling dread they inspired in others. It encapsulates a period of intense maritime activity driven by a complex mix of factors: overpopulation, a desire for wealth, a thirst for glory, and perhaps a cultural imperative to test oneself against the unknown. Understanding Viking as an action, a verb almost rather than just a noun, gives us a deeper insight into the dynamic, restless spirit that defined this extraordinary age. Fear was indeed their companion, both the fear they faced and the fear they instilled. Outro, the enduring voyage, reconsidering the Viking legacy. So there you have it, a glimpse into the multifaceted world of the Vikings, far removed from the one-dimensional caricatures of horned helmets and mindless brutality. We've journeyed from their ingenious longships, slicing through the waves of history, to the surprising cleanliness that marked their daily lives and the profound cosmic beliefs that shaped their understanding of existence. We've seen that Viking was more than a name. It was a call to adventure, a life lived on the edge of the known world. These were not simple people. They were a complex tapestry of innovators, explorers, poets, farmers, warriors, and yes, sometimes ruthless raiders. The chilling aspects of their culture, the berserkers' rage, the harshness of their raids, the starkness of their sagas are undeniable. But to focus solely on these elements is to miss the brilliance of their shipbuilding, the audacity of Leif Erikson's voyage, the surprising agency of their women, and the intricate beauty of their mythology. History, like the cosmos, is rarely black and white. It's filled with nuance, with unexpected turns, with human beings grappling with the same fundamental questions and challenges that we face today, albeit in vastly different circumstances. The Vikings remind us that even the fiercest reputations can hide deeper truths. Their echoes still resonate, not just in the lands they touched, but in our language, our stories, and our enduring fascination with those who dare to sail into the unknown. What forgotten histories are still waiting to be rediscovered, to challenge our perceptions? The past is a vast ocean, and there are always more shores to explore. Keep seeking, keep questioning. Subscribe for more forgotten history. At midnight, Playback.